So I'm doing a steering rack relocation on my S13 drift car just because I don't want to really run the offset rack spacers. That puts a lot of rotational force on the mounting points, and I don't want that. I want a nice reliable setup, so I'm doing a rack relocation while the motor is out of the car. And I haven't really found too many write-ups online on how to do this, so I'm gonna give you a few pointers on how I am doing this, and maybe it'll help you with your rack relocation. So essentially this is what's going on. So your rack was sitting just like that, and there are those two circles, the one there and the one right about here, and you're essentially moving the rack forward the width of that circle. So you cut out the strip along there, you cut along from here, you cut around this mounting point all the way down. Same thing on this side, all the way down. And on the bottom, what I did was on the bottom of this guy, you essentially do one circle's width right there, all the way down to these holes that are already in the rack. You bring your line around from here down there into that circle. Same thing on this side, and then you just move that rack forward and you weld it up, and of course you reinforce this so it's just as strong as it was before. And when you're done and it's all welded up, actually, one thing to note is I didn't cut any of this out here, any of this metal. It's just this is the cut that was touching here. So all I'm going to do is set that little bit up and over. So just this up and over the existing cross member, and I will weld it all together just like that. Put a nice bead there, all the way around, down there. Put some metal in there to reinforce that. A bead on the bottom, and what that will do is it's moving my rack forward about that circle's width, about an inch or so. And coincidentally, my offset rack spacers are a little over an inch, so this is just the proper way to move your tie rod mounting points forward, and this is all in order to reduce binding with your steering. If you have any sort of aftermarket angle knuckles or angle mods or whatnot, as you move the mounting point of the tie rod forward on the car, your offset rack spacers will help keep that all in line and keep it from binding. But like I said earlier, that does put a bit of stress on your rack, and you don't want that. So this is the rack relocation. I'm going to weld it up and I'll show you the results. So here's the finished result, all welded up. Threw some paint on it just to make sure it doesn't rust out because of all that bare metal. So I threw a bead here, cut that out to flatten it, and welded it, and then welded all the way around here, across the cross member, around here, back down, and then a little bit there. That's on the top, and then on the bottom, it's a little bit there, a little bit there. I did have to cut out a little bit more metal here just to access those steering rack bolts. So now those are accessible. And I welded this big old plate here, and I think now we're looking at a cross member that's pretty much as good as stock, if not a little bit stronger. And because I'm not running the offset rack spacers anymore, and I didn't want to have to run any of those straight spacers, I went ahead and shortened my lower control arms. I had actually extended it 3 times before, so there's like an extension about that long, and then another one about that long, and then there was another one in the middle between those, but I cut that out. So I have that cut out. You can see that mess down there, but it's pretty strong. I grinded all this down because I'm going to put another plate on the top, just extra reinforcement. And hopefully, once that's all said and done, I won't have to run any sort of steering rack spacer whatsoever, and it'll be all strong. So I just finished putting that reinforcement plate on the top of the control arms, but like I said, I don't think they're really necessary. It's just a little extra insurance just to make sure everything stays put. One side, other side, the other control arm. Boom. Easy peasy, simple. But like I said, you know, I've gone over this several times. I've never had a control arm break on me, and I've pretty much just been doing it just like this for 4 or 5 years now, something like that. So here we are, cross member and rack all bolted in. Got some, these are old, but I mean, they're not OEM. I replaced these a few months ago, these bushings, so that's all solid. Got the steering column all bolted in, nice and tight there, nice and tight there. Swap my fittings over. This is the return, this is the high pressure. I believe this is a -6. I will have to cut these boots off to get at this tie rod, inner tie rods, so I can put my own on. But I got the lower control arm all beefed up. Got my weird looking tension arms, all good. Everything's tight. Same deal on this side. So yeah, it's pretty much all good to go. I just have to put on the tie rods and take it to get in alignment. But this car isn't going to be moving for a bit. I'm still waiting on some stuff for the engine. And so yeah, it's not going to the alignment rack anytime soon. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you a few pointers if you're looking at relocating your steering rack. But as always, I have to put that disclaimer in. Do not do this if you're not comfortable with welding. If your welds fail, things can go bad, you can lose steering, and you can crash and die. And nobody wants that. So only attempt this if you're pretty comfortable with welding. I used a 220 volt MIG welder, and I think that's plenty strong for what this calls for. I don't know if I'd attempt it with a 110 volt, but I've said the disclaimer, so that's all on you. If you're looking at getting a relocated rack, just like having it done, I've seen them go for like $200 or so at various local drift shops in my state. I don't know about yours, but $200 seems to be about what they're going for. This will really help you with steering bind. It'll help save your rack so you don't have to use the offset rack spacers. And yeah, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Give the video a like, share it to your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.